Bending metal is not as simple as folding a piece of paper. In this lesson, we're going to go over everything that you need to know when bending. So let's get into it. Up until this point in the chapter, we've been focused on the cutting side of the process with SendCutSend or for sheet metal. Now we're going to start talking about secondary operations, and the first one being bending. So coming over here to the board, the first thing we really need to understand though is the key terminology that we're going to be using to describe that bending process and what's happening in the background. Fully understanding these are going to help you to understand what went wrong with your designs, how to fix them, or how to mitigate errors moving forward. With this, we have a list over here. We're going to work from top to bottom on this, and we have this diagram here of a bend process here. So we have a flange, a bend, and another flange here. Now, the first key terminology that I want to talk about here is the apex. And this is essentially an imaginary point out here in space. So if we take this tangent line up, tangent line out, we get this point out here that they connect. This is our apex. Now, this apex isn't necessarily used for any calculations, but it is used for a point of reference for a lot of measurements that we have. The first one being that we're going to use this tangent line that we get the apex off of to describe our angle. Now that angle is going to be measured on a sheet metal bending process on the outside of the flanges, not the inside of the flanges. And this is an important thing to understand, because if you have something that is bent past this 90-degree angle, you're going to have an acute angle in here. So we might see 80 degrees in here. We might see 100, 110 degrees on the outside. Understanding that this angle is on the outside is going to help make sure that you end up having the correct value given to the manufacturer, especially with SendCutSend. Now, with this, good note on this is that if you give a step file to SendCutSend, they're automatically calculating that angle correctly. And if you do your DXFs, you're going to see that angle come out during the checkout process at SendCutSend. Just make sure that the angle looks like it is to the right degree. It's not over or under what you wanted. Now that we understand that the angle is on the outside, we can move over to our next terminology, which is setback. Now the setback, using that apex point that we talked about earlier, is a measurement from the tangent line here of where this bend radius comes into our flange and the apex. So we have two setbacks on each side. So we're going to call this SB for setback. And we have another measurement here for setback. Now this is going to be used in later on calculations. We just need to understand where it's coming from and how to get that measurement. Now flange length is also going to be measured off of this apex area here. It's never measured off the inside. So if we're looking for how long this flange is, this measurement from here, we're going to be measuring it from our apex. So from this line here, or that actual point in space. Now this is also really important. If we measure it from the inside of our flange, we're going to have material thickness changing us, and we're going to end up having incorrect flange lengths calculated on the backside of this. Understanding this is also going to help make sure that your parts come out correctly and that you're getting the correct measurement on what you want from the manufacturer. So that we'll call this FL here. And that's essentially apex, again, to the end of the flange. So that's just a really important clarification there. Now, material thickness, very self-explanatory on this one. That is the material thickness at the unbent portion of your bending process. So this is the raw thickness material form. Remember that there is some tolerance from the mills and the coils and stuff that SendCutSend is getting, or any manufacturer is getting here. Just use the average value. You don't need to really worry about that tolerance. We're going to call that big T for this one. So that's our material thickness. All right, centerline. Centerline is also self-explanatory, but this is the center portion between the thickness. So centerline on the unbent portion is just half of our thickness. We can kind of draw that in here. I essentially made it in this diagram as a cutout portion that we can see transferring all the way through. This right here in this section is just half that thickness, but something ends up happening that we're going to get into in a second where this section ends up being slightly different. Real quick before we get to that point though, we're going to go over bend radius. Now the bend radius is always measured on the inside of our bend. So we'll put this in here, and that's essentially the tangent points of our bend radius here to our flange. We're going to make a spot out here in space. Measuring that end, we're going to get our bend radius. We'll call that BR for this one. That bend radius is always on the inside because this area right here is always under compression. So it's being forced into that shape, and this is dictated strictly by the punch that you're using to do the bending process. And we're going to talk about the punch in the part 2 of this, but that is, just know that this is in compression. It's being forced into that shape, and that's where we get that. How to get this value is going to be dictated by the manufacturer. On SendCutSend, if you go to the guidelines for that material, you're going to see the effective bend radius at 90 degrees. That's dictated by that punch that we're talking about. So understand this is a value that you're going to find from the manufacturer. Unless you're doing it yourself, you can kind of choose which punch you're looking for. Now that we understand that, we're going to go into 2 more technical topics here. The first one being adjusted centerline. Now, when we do this bending process, we are stretching this whole section into essentially the bend form. We have that compression on the inside, and then on the outside here, we'll use green here. On the outside, we have all of this tension being built up. And just like a rubber band, so we're going to have this rubber band here. If I pull on this rubber band, we can see that it thins out in that center section, right? So we're stretching it outwards. That material has to come from somewhere. We're not making new material. And so it comes from that width. It'll thin out and elongate out. The same exact thing is happening during our bending process on the outside of that bend. So I just drew this in green, and I have this other little diagram that we can put on here. So we put on the new stretched one. What we end up getting is thinning. Just like in the rubber band, we get a thinning in the center section here, and we can see that we have all of this space here from the original. Now, just like that rubber band, that material is being pulled outwards, and so our flanges and the whole material is stretching out, and that makes us stretch into the flange lengths that we want. So it's just like if you're being a football player, you're a quarterback, you don't want to throw it to where the receiver is at, you want to throw it to where he's going. So in this one, we want that to be slightly shorter, and we stretch into our flange lengths. And that's going to be dictated by a couple of these topics, as well as calculations that we're going to do in part 2. This adjusted center line is going to be the adjusted center line of the middle thinned out area here. So if I draw in a new center line here, we have our internal radius. If I pop this off, this is going to be this center line measurement. We're going to call this little t. Now that adjusted center line is going to be used in our K factor, which is our last key term of this lesson here. K factor is not necessarily a measurement, but it's a ratio in which we're going to use to describe the amount of elasticity, the amount of stretch that we have in these parts here, or that material that you're using. Now the K factor is an easy equation. Essentially we'll call this K, and normally it's dictated with a little f there. And that is just a ratio of our adjusted center line, little t, divided by our overall material thickness from the very beginning. This right here is going to dictate how much stretch you have, and is probably one of the most important things to have correct when you're actually setting up your CAD. So when it comes to SolidWorks, Fusion, they're always going to have K factor on their sheet metal rules, and this is going to be a very important one to have correct. And you're going to see that in the calculations of part 2. Now, one thing that SendCutSend does do for you is that they give you a whole K factor and bend radius list based on the materials that you're looking for that you can download straight from the website. So just go onto SendCutSend's website, find either SolidWorks or Fusion, download those, and then you'll have all those sheet metal rules preloaded. They also have a whole bend calculator that uses all of these key terms to come up with that flange length in the end. Now that's it for this lesson. In the next one, we're going to take all of these key terms and we're going to put them into calculations to describe that stretch process that I was talking about. So we'll see you on the next one.